Ferrari is a brand that has always been distinguished by its very sporty appearance, and trying to compete with it is very difficult. However, it is also certain that repairing it will be more difficult, so in this video we will see one repair journey. One of their most beautiful models is the 2013 Ferrari 458 Spider, but before anything else, make sure you are a subscriber. With us here at Redline Reactions, we will install an Italian Super Sport, starting the repair journey after a long journey. It takes a long time for the two brothers to receive their copy. The first glance says that it was destroyed by the accident. The front is perfect, but the back of the car is almost intact, normally due to an accident, but for sure we will see everything. Then they will load the car on the download mode, and the colors inside will be very consistent with the distinctive red color from the paint. After many hours, they return to the face. They are preparing to remove this monster from its place. The frame of the justification will be tied on the front wheel on the left side, but they are trying to get it into the workshop quickly. They remove the packaging on the front side and the front, then they open the hood cover in order for them to see the situation. The impact or shock will be clearly visible on the right side, the most remaining. The headlight will be inside the trunk, the radiator and the fan will be. They are completely damaged, and the northern headlight is intact, but his mounting bases are all broken from behind. The rear bumper will be unscrewed from its mounting location, as will the rear bumper light. The exterior trim is broken on the inside of the chairs, and their backs are made of carbon fiber. To give you a sense of athleticism and reduce weight, the bags here are all opened. Of course, carbon fiber touches are present everywhere, here on the dashboard and on the console also. The doors are for the battery, as usual. The Ferrari battery is located underneath. The pedals start working on their version. The first thing that comes apart is the battery from the mounting base. Hers is fixed, so it takes them a little effort, and then he takes her to get someone like her. It's exactly new, and he finds that he wants it, so he buys it and goes back to the workshop again and starts here. He installs it on the car and now he is ready to try turning on the contact and all the lights. It lights up the dashboard and the warning sounds are also clear due to malfunctions. He tries to open her roof, it works normally, then he tries to find the safety switch. Who uses a pyro fuse to cut off electricity to the car when the alarms open. He actually reaches for it, puts it on, and then tries enthusiastically to start the engine. Here it starts the first time, but it stops all the time because I hear a sound from the engine. Sana then tries to turn it on again to make sure more and the same sound will be there. He then opens the rear engine hood to see if everything has a lot of dirt on it from its corner. The side cover is loose in the engine sump, so it is expected that the sound is coming. It was there, and it was also because of it that they discovered that the other side was loose, so they removed it clearly. Of course, if someone has dismantled all of this before, the exhaust will also be loose. It makes a sound when it moves and they lift the car to check it from under the rear wheel. And he takes it out to the sides. The loose parts in the exhaust appear. Finally, they separate the lights. The background is also removed from their place and the ends are removed from everything in the exhaust system. It will be loose here, and this may be because it had an exhaust system on it. It was modified and dismantled after the accident so that the original one would be installed for it again at the time of the auction. Because the modification was on Ferrari, copies will be more expensive, of course. Their suspension condition will be good and they may work. It is normal that after the accident, they complete work to fix all the loose or shaky parts. They are still working in the area of the exhaust system to put everything back in its right place. They turn the car on again to make sure there are no other sounds. And with operation for the third time, the situation will be good now, but here is the car or transfer to the movement. Unfortunately, he is not satisfied with being in first gear the next day and they start work. In fact, they almost unraveled the braid of the bag in the front from the places where it was fastened. They also unraveled the entire. The connected sensors fail, and they completely turn off the cap, after which they remove the reserve or the plastic tank in the front. They also dismantle and remove the screws to fix the clutches. Then they take him out and he starts to dismantle the front bar crush by cutting or shearing it. Because of course it was completely destroyed and compressed, it was being repaired next to the bridge. Initially, the damage would be obvious in his welding areas. He begins to remove all the welding points and then empty them with the pin. He removes the front wheel to expand the space, so he can dig the side seams. He easily then removes the screws and welds of the side supports and tries to separate the entire chassis, and after a lot of effort, he was finally able to dismantle this part completely, and here it is. He goes to the second side to remove it, and with the same steps, he dismantles the wheel and then removes the welds. The front chassis comes out easier and then begins to connect all of its landing cables, or the holder is on the body, and they unscrew the cap from the handles and hinges to secure it so that it can be removed. Then they quickly install the radiator in the front so they can try it out more and buy fluid, new cooling and hoses, and they are starting to connect the radiator or main coolant. The cooling circuit starts through the inlet and outlet pipes, so they fill the cooling circuit with water. They turn on the car and here it works normally. The temperature will be constant and very normal. They will mount the front wheel and lower a copy to the ground, and then dismantling these parts, the Ferrari moves gearboxes naturally, so it starts to move them from their place and comes out. Outside the workshop, make a test drive, and the car will be running without any problems. It moves and accelerates very quickly. The next day, they complete their work and dismantle the chairs, so that they can wear their seat belts. The first thing to do is dismantle the driver's seat. The chair is amazing. It is light because it is made of carbon fiber. He dismantles the second chair after him and disconnects the connections, his electricity. Then the side gasket and the inner gasket come out and come off. Electrical connections on it. The speakers of the sound system will be disconnected here. He seems to be working on the bolts that secure the seatbelt mechanism. It's all relative to the right side. As for the left side of the left side, he seems to be working on it with the same steps and beyond. Once he finishes both sides, he starts work on the dashboard by removing the screws that secure the pedal pads. Then he removes the dashboard drawer from its place and then removes the air conditioning control unit from. In the end, he can remove the skin of the dashboard or dash without dismantling it in any way. It is complete, and this makes it easier, of course, because the most difficult part of the interior is the dashboard being completed and dismantled. The screw that secures the airbag to the steering wheel pulls the exploded unit out completely. Of course, he disconnects the electrical connections on his clips, as usual. The connection may be affected and damaged due to the very intense heat, but it may work in good condition. They have never found anything like it. They will take the airbag out of the dashboard shell and send it for repair later. When they finish, they start raising the roof in order to move around and reach Caferbata. They remove the insulation and mounting bolts in this part of the engine, and then remove the cable in the end. Under it appears the Ferrari engine in the famous red color, and they begin to clean the engine and everything, the parts around it, then close their cover as it was in the beginning and also install a chair. A driver is inside the cab, and here we see that they will start the car and try to change it. The suspension height works well without any problems. Even the nose lift system, the hydraulic lift for the front, will be working. Then they will go out and drive the Ferrari. They try more than one girl, very fast. Then they return directly to the workshop again, with the new parts delivered from the shipping company. The frame for fixing the radiator and the fenders on the sides will also reach them. The front, chassis and crash bar teams are almost ready for work, covering the dashboard skin. After that, he sends it to be repaired and returns to the workshop to complete the work. Here he begins sanding everything. The mounting locations are at the front of the chassis and the remains of the old welding are removed from them. Installation is to ensure that the new work that will be done will be completed with the same steps as for the side. The second takes the parts he needs from the old chassis and dismantles them from the welding places they bought it so they could use it again, because they discovered that it was not sold separately. They sand it here so that it is ready for welding, and then he prepares his tools. The welder starts working all the time here. He begins to install his bases and the chassis first thing. In order for it to be ready, he welds it and then attaches the aluminum pole to it, which is necessary. Of course, make sure that everything has no bias using a water level, all of this for the side. The left side, but as for the right side, they install it temporarily in order to take the measurements of the pelvis. Then, after that, they install the crusher on the front bar and remove the load, which is the most important task. Or a step is completed with regard to the introduction, so they complete the work and dismantle the rest of the parts they need. It is easy to dismantle it without welding, because it is fixed with screws. Then they install it on the armor of the chassis is at the front in relation to the sides, and they are cut and sheared. His supports stabilize the coolers so that they can be used the second day. The next day as well new parts are delivered to them, so they lift the Ferraris so they can work on them from underneath. They dismantle everything. The wheels take them out and then they start dismantling the side sill so they can. They find the fender easier, but they discover that the part of the fender that is at the threshold is. It is welded to the chassis of this copy. Then they remove the welding and remove the fender again. The same operation is done on the other side, of course, so that they can remove the two fenders together. In order for the work to be ready, on the right side, they complete work to install the parts one haven't welded yet, and they are starting to remove any traces of old welding and clean everything in its place. In order to prepare for the final stage, they make sure of everything using the measurements of the tank. They took it from their red Ferrari and based on it they fixed everything on me. The copy they have, which is in white, cleans the welding areas with alcohol so that there is no obstacle between the welding and the aluminum. So it begins to weld the arm or straighten the chassis. Its place and it starts on the left side and then it turns to the right and then it ends. He lets the weld harden or dry a little in place, then repeats the next step. This means that he prepares the supports or stands and goes to install them and weld them in places. The right thing is that after they finish, they try the power of welding and look at the introduction themselves and it will be as it is. It was very strong. And then they started fixing the nails in their places. And they did it again. The holes in the braid on the chassis are completed to weld the chassis. The coolers are at the front, but before that they certainly had to take the measurements from the second Ferrari. After they make sure that everything is in place, they fix it with welding and then they continue again. She has to take more hard labor the next day, as they are close to being finished. The work on the weft begins here by attaching the bracket to the side fender as well. They adjust it so that it is suitable. They attach a fender to it to make sure that everything is perfect. As for the distances between the door and the fender, they repeat the same process in the direction to the side. The right, of course, and then they install the red cap to make sure that all the distances are correct. It will be fine with the new cab when it arrives. They will also install the brackets and everything will be fine. It is set in its correct place. After that, the cap is dismantled and the parts are welded together, relatively new. For the sides, they also fix the parts of the holders in the front of the coolers in their places, and after a lot of effort, they finally finish the work. As for welding, this is the most difficult stage, of course. You need to focus because here there is no going back after the welding process. They install everything in it. The accessories are in place on the car and they start with the lights and then install a cover cabinet. The bumps and the shape of the car finally appear and will be very strong the next day. All of it is dismantled. The second parts, because the next stage will be the painting stage for all the new parts, they will begin to appear. They cover the entire car with protective bags and leave the parts that will get splashed just to make sure that nothing can happen to the original car paint. They start all the time. They first spray a layer of primer or anti-rust to work on it, then spray it again. The car's original color, but when it dries here, it will not be exactly the same as the original color, so it is not important to them because all of this will not be apparent at all at this time, as new parts are arriving. They have a radiator and fan along with oil coolers, which you need to complete the job and be stable. The front basin mount is in place. They also remove the old radiator from its place and drain the water. The refrigeration department is starting to install the coolers in their places, and the work will come first. There is something on the right side that they fix and then they install the heat exchanger on it from underneath. They empty the remaining cooling water into the old radiator and install the new one on the left side. They connect the entry and exit pipes and then remove the lock on the cabin from the second red version so that they can move on and know how to install it in their new version. They then install it and try to lock the cap on it, and here we see that they are connecting the Freon pipes. They install the condenser and the cooling system, as well as the air conditioning, then turn on the front lights so they can test the light and see if they will work or not at all. The contact is very beautiful, and all the lights work, but this is the same story for the left side only, but the right side stops and does not work, so they try the next day. They see the problem in the flashlight or in the electronic unit or where exactly, so they connect the flashlight. The one who was working on the left side is on the right side, but he is not working either, so they understand that the problem is in the lighting unit or the lantern itself, so they quickly start looking for a solution. They open the fuse box, examine it further, and discover that there is a blown fuse. It is not working, and this is of course what you like to see when there is an electrical fault and they are running around on a fuse. There is a suitable amp, and they find one and install it in its place, and then they try the lights or the two headlights work normally. In fact, then remove the rear bumper. They install the rear lights in place, and then at the end they install the red bumpers. They also install all the wheels here, fill the cooling cycle with new coolant, and start the engine. They take it out so it can be washed, so it will be ready for the next stage, as usual. Exciting and fun, they bring it to the second test drive, and to be honest, I think anyone in their place would love it. He always goes back to the garage and takes out the second red Ferrari. From the hydraulics, they remove the airbag of the steering wheel from it and go to install it on it. Their second white copy here is the skin of the dashboard that they sent for repair. I arrived and they went to the red car to remove the dashboard cover and take it away. They remove the airbag units, and after several attempts, they are able to dismantle them and take out the modules. The airbag puts everything back in its place and then goes to the second white version. They install the dashboard cover with their screws, so the insides are almost completely finished. Here they dismantle other chairs just to clean everything and put them in the cribs of the imams. Its places, but here it is that it has not yet arrived and the seatbelts are not yet fully seated, so they return the chairs and install another one. Then they work on the red Ferrari in some details, like this. The next day new parts will be delivered to them, including a spoiler and also a new carbon fiber insert for its diffuser. They started to raise the car with hydraulic lift, removing the four wheels from the car. On it, he adjusts the part that had a problem in the rear fender. Here he tries the crash in order to see if the situation is appropriate or not. He sands the part that had a problem and prepares a tool because there are very minor cracks in the welding. This part is welded and then sanded. To remove the extras, try with the white stripes to see if this part is correct or not. No, and it is really good. There are no problems after the work that was done, so it starts to sand with very fine sandpaper, then clean it with alcohol so that it is ready for the next step. Here it is mixed. The paste is ready and begins to cover the part, and after it dries, of course, he sands it to form it equal to the rest of the fender. Repeat the process again with the same steps to make sure everything is fine exactly, and then it starts to cover the rest of the car, leaving only this part to be brushed first. You need a primer as a base layer to work on, and it will remove the red streaks and begin to level out. Primer to remove any excesses or edges from the insulating paper, then use fine sandpaper. As he prepares, he sands the entire fender so that he knows how to remove the layer of varnish from it. He repeats the same thing. The operation is done on the other side and it allows all of this to dry and then returns to the carbon fiber collision. The new one installs the exhaust vents on it and starts installing it. It also installs the rear lights in their places to see how the situation will be. Of course, the new design and shape are in my hands. He goes to the back to complete his work and unscrews the front hood, and then we see that he is removing the logo here. Ferrari starts sanding it with a soft sandpaper to remove the layer of varnish and then washes it. He begins to completely cover the entire car again with insulating plastic bags to protect the rest. Good paint, of course, and as we have seen, many people clean everything using alcohol, which is prepared, then the paints that I will work with and mix them. First, spray the primer layer to cover. The red color of the hood is also necessary to spray the lock, after which it begins to be prepared. The basic color of the car is diluted a little until it is ready and finished, and the work begins immediately as soon as it finishes. The cabin is sprayed, the lock and the color will be clear from the first time, and this way it will take 2 or 3 layers, but after all this dries, he begins to spray the layer of clear varnish to make the required external fin similar to what was present in the beginning. and as usual every time a part is connected new and full of work here. This time it will be the front bumper, and of course it will definitely be Karen Viber. Then they remove all the installation clips you need from the red markings. They make holes in the capot's lock on it and remove the extra parts and then install it initially. On their copy, to see the view, the doors have scratches. It was simple because of the accident, so they decided to dismantle it for more preparation. So they started on as long as they remove the handles on the doors, then the carbon fiber frame. And they come out. This part is where they remove the interior upholstery of the door and then unscrew the bolts that hold the skin together. The insulated doors of the roof also take out the side mirrors and handles. So they definitely start work on the doors and sand them with the same steps that were used to remove the layer. The varnish on them also removes the expensive fascias of Ferrari and the side signals from. On each shelf, they are going to dismantle the new headlights here. He sands any details on it so that they can be repaired. He prepares the paste and spreads it on the part. The one who had a problem started the sanding process as usual to make the surface flat and remove the paper. The insulation fixes the cap that was spraying a while ago, and of course they sprayed the part below, but there is still half of the second left. So he starts washing the face of the hood to remove any dirt. He spreads a light layer of paste on it to smooth out any problems. So let us speed up this process because it will be the exact same steps that we saw before. They will repeat the same steps on the target. The rear is ready to be painted. Then they wash the rest of the car for the last time. They make sure there is nothing on it and isolate them with plastic bags to remove any water, using air so that there is no water anywhere. And here they insulate all the door areas. This is done through silicones so that the paint does not enter the interior and go in places that are not. It needs paint, but as for the bumpers, they will leave behind the part with the holes. The front is shaped like carbon fiber, so this part is selected so that it is isolated as well. And then they repeat the same thing. The procedure for the rear seat is to cover the entire car with bags and clean anything. Using alcohol, they mix the primer until it is diluted and ready. Then spray it. First apply it quickly. Let's skip all these steps and see the final shape, and the view is real here. It will be creative, and the model shows how beautiful it is. They introduce a second version into the workshop. After they finish it, they raise it to start removing it, and the ends drain the cooling water from the radiator. They also take out all of these cooling units completely because the new parts have arrived which have external tires and air ducts for cooling. So they start installing them. On the copy has the radiators installed in their places, and they also install the air passage on the oil radiator. In the front, they fix it in place with its clips and take all the parts you need from the old frame. Here the outer cover of the radiator is installed on the second side, and here the pipes of the radiator are clogged, so it begins to heat up in order to adjust them further. Then he installs the radiator in place and, as usual, installs the plastic air duct on it and connects it. Then the inlet and outlet connections for the cooler. And then he starts installing everything around the area. The basin goes to fix the front lights in their places and addresses any problems with the bases. The installation makes it look like aluminum side supports and attaches it to the chassis. The car has mounting screws, and to complete the harmony, the supports are sprayed black. In this way, after he closes the cap, everything will be compatible with some of the upcoming work. I am excited because he will be on Exocet because they ordered a new system and it arrived, so they will remove the car. They remove the wheels from them, then they remove the rear bumper and the stop light. In fact, the new exhaust seems to be very strong and enthusiastic. Here it is running in the car because he hears her voice before it changes. They start disassembling the exhaust pipes from the first box to avoid the environment, then they remove the box. The guys take it out and then they dismantle the oxygen or auto sensors as well. The exhaust here removes the heat shield around the exhaust pipes and removes the part. The rest is connected to the headers, the last of which is the environmental box, and he starts installing the new pipes on it. The headers are then installed in the old part of the environment box or the catalytic box, and here it is installed. Thermal insulation is in place again, and he goes to install the pipes on the side again. And the last thing, he fixes the valves or the rear vents and then goes to start the engine to hear it sound new. And the sound is something really crazy. It increases the remains and makes the sound of the horse heard more. After that night, he goes to buy a new coolant and has it delivered to him, and he starts filling the cooling unit, and after it is finished, connect the wire to the control unit. The exhaust sound is here, and he is disassembling the insides of the car and the fuse box to find a place where he can. He conducts electricity from it, and when he actually finds it, he connects the wires, insulates them well, and turns back on car from Tunish. He turns on the car to try the sound, but nothing works here, so he decides to turn it on, controlling the sound through the solenoid holes that are already present in the car itself, which changes its sound on its own when the driving mode is changed, is the same. It will be easier and faster, but when he arrives and tries it, he discovers that the car is the one that controls the way. Camel has a lot of doubts about his slots, even on Model Sport, so he decides in the end to cancel. The issue of control makes the sound louder without any control. The last task here will be installing the electrical cable for the rear fender. They install the new shock absorbers and install the bumpers, and the view is excellent Ferrari, and in order for the picture to be complete, they will definitely install the tail lights and the spoiler as well. Brake lights, thank you very much if you reached this minute. I personally love operations very much. Repairing the Italian copies, but specifically the 458, is a completely different matter, especially after it was modified. Sound. So write to us your opinion specifically about the Italian version. Do you like the models to have natural breathing or not? It is equipped with a turbo. Don't forget, of course. In the end, join us here at Redline Reactions, and that's it.